Hello, and thanks for coming to my show. If you don't already know, this show is done in themed seasons, and we're on Season 18, Killer Kids. If you like this channel, not necessarily the crimes, you can hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel for weekly stories. You can also check out my other channel, Somewhere Sinister, which isn't entirely true crime, more true crime adjacent. A link is in the description. Thanks. On a warm summer evening in 1992, the quiet town of Camberley, England became the backdrop for a horrific crime that would baffle investigators for years to come. Katie Rackliff, an 18-year-old apprentice hairdresser, had spent the night at Ragamuffin's nightclub, unaware that her life was about to be cut tragically short. As the early hours of June 7th crept in, Katie left the club and was seen getting into a car. That seemingly ordinary act marked the beginning of a nightmare that would shock the nation. This is Monsters. Sharon Louise Carr was born on December 21, 1979 in Belize. She grew up in extreme poverty in a dysfunctional family. Sharon's biological father was absent from her life, and her stepfather was known to be a violent alcoholic. Her mother, described as having an explosive temper, was also physically abusive towards her children. The level of abuse Sharon experienced went beyond what was considered normal corporal punishment at the time, with reports suggesting she was even subjected to burns as a form of punishment. In 1986, Sharon's life took a dramatic turn when her family relocated to Camberley, Surrey in England. That move presented a stark contrast to her previous life in Belize, causing a significant culture shock for the young girl. Initially, Sharon showed promise in her new environment. One teacher described her as charming and refreshing, and she even joined the school's basketball team. However, Sharon's seemingly positive start in England was short-lived. As she grew older, her behavior began to deteriorate rapidly. She became increasingly aggressive in class, and her actions started to raise red flags amongst those around her. At the tender age of 11, Sharon began experimenting with marijuana, introducing her to a subculture of drugs and violence. That early drug use was particularly concerning, as it's known to be a risk factor for later psychosis, especially in developing brains. One of the most alarming aspects of Sharon's behavior was her apparent lack of empathy and desensitization to violence. A chilling incident occurred when her stepfather confronted her mother about ending their relationship. In response, Sharon's mother poured boiling fat over him, causing severe burns. Shockingly, Sharon witnessed that violent act without flinching, displaying an unnervingly calm demeanor. Sharon's fascination with violence extended to animals, a classic warning sign of future violent behavior. Neighbors reported missing pets, and a next-door neighbor's cat was found decapitated. While never definitively proven, Sharon was the prime suspect in those incidents. Adding another layer to Sharon's complex background was her mother's involvement in voodoo culture. Sharon grew up believing in supernatural powers and rituals, which may have contributed to her distorted worldview. She reportedly performed rituals involving the slaughter of animals, believing it gave her power over others. As Sharon entered her preteen years, she had gained a reputation as an intimidating figure in her neighborhood. She roamed freely with little parental control, instilling fear in those around her. That lack of boundaries and guidance left Sharon without the normal childhood experiences that help shape empathy and social skills. On June 6, 1992, Katie Rackliff had spent the evening at a local nightclub called Ragamuffin's. She was an 18-year-old hairdressing apprentice. In the early morning hours of June 7th, Katie had caught a ride home and was walking to her house when Sharon attacked her and stabbed her 32 times. Sharon used a 6.5-inch or 16-centimeter knife to stab the woman in the chest, penetrating her heart. Some of the knife thrusts were so forceful that they went clean through her body, a chilling detail that spoke to the attacker's rage. Then she used the knife to stab Katie in the vagina and anus. Sharon took her victim's jewelry and then had some friends help her drive the body to Farnborough, where she dumped the body near a cemetery. Katie's body was found 5 hours later by a group of young boys bearing the marks of a frenzied assault that left investigators stunned. The crime scene painted a picture of extreme violence. Katie's body had been mutilated, her clothes pulled up, and some of her jewelry stolen. Former Detective Chief Inspector Clive Driscoll described the scene as, quote, almost a Jack the Ripper sort of incident, highlighting the barbaric nature of the attack. He noted that some injuries suggested Katie might have still been alive during parts of the assault. The brutality of the crime led investigators down a path that would ultimately delay justice for Katie. Police initially assumed they were looking for a male suspect in his 30s, someone with the physical strength to overpower an 18-year-old woman and carry out such a vicious attack. That assumption was based on the nature of the injuries and the apparent sexual motivation behind the crime. That focus on a male suspect was further reinforced by experts' understanding of typical female criminal behavior. It was generally believed that female killers usually used only enough violence to kill their victims, rarely engaging in excessive stabbing or mutilation. That preconception would prove to be a crucial factor in the case remaining unsolved for years. Despite intensive investigation efforts, the police found themselves at a dead end. The brutality of the crime, which initially seemed to provide clear indicators, had instead led them astray. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Katie's killer remained at large, leaving her family without closure and the community on edge. Little did anyone know that the perpetrator of the crime was not the seasoned male criminal they were looking for, but someone far more unexpected. The truth, when it finally came to light, would shake the foundations of criminal psychology and force a reevaluation of long-held beliefs about juvenile crime. On June 7, 1994, exactly 2 years after Katie Rackliff's murder, Sharon Carr committed another violent act that would set in motion the events leading to her capture. In a chilling echo of her previous crime, Sharon attacked a 13-year-old classmate named Anne-Marie Clifford with a knife at Collingwood College in Camberley. The attack was seemingly unprovoked and nearly fatal as Sharon stabbed Anne-Marie in the back, puncturing her lung. The assault was only halted when 5 students intervened, likely saving Anne-Marie's life. Witnesses reported that Sharon appeared to be smiling and happy during the attack, a disturbing detail that hinted at her twisted psyche. Following her arrest, Sharon made unsettling statements to the police, admitting to enjoying stabbing cats and even beheading a dog. She was then housed at Bullwood Hall, a young offenders institution in Essex. It was during her stay there that Sharon's involvement in Katie's murder began to come to light. Unable to contain her dark secret, Sharon started to brag about the killing to various people. She spoke about it on the phone to friends and family, boasted to other inmates, and even confided in prison staff, including a prison officer she had developed a crush on and a probation officer. Sharon's compulsion to relive and share her crime extended beyond verbal admissions. She kept detailed diaries that would prove to be her undoing. Those writings contained graphic descriptions of Katie's murder, revealing Sharon's disturbing thoughts and motivations. In one chilling entry, she wrote, quote, I bring the knife into her chest. Her eyes are closing. She is pleading with me, so I bring the knife to her again and again. I don't want to hurt her, but I need to do violence to her. I need to overcome her beauty, her serenity, her security. The diaries also revealed Sharon's lack of remorse and her twisted pleasure in the act. She wrote, quote, I wish I could kill you again. I promise I'd make you suffer more this time, you fucking slag. Your terrified screams turned me on. Another entry stated, quote, I swear I was born to be a murderer. Killing for me is a mass turn-on, and it just makes me so high I never want to come down. Those disturbing writings caught the attention of the institution's staff, who alerted the police. When questioned about Katie Rackliff's murder, Sharon provided details that only the killer would know. including information about a stolen bracelet that had not been made public. That knowledge, combined with her graphic descriptions and diary entries, provided compelling evidence of her guilt. The trial of Sharon Carr for the murder of Katie Rackliff began in March of 1997 at Winchester Crown Court. The prosecution presented a compelling case against the young defendant, who was then 17 years old. Despite the lack of forensic evidence, the jury was presented with both verbal and written confessions from Sharon. One of the most damning pieces of evidence presented to the jury was Sharon's diaries. Those writings contained graphic descriptions of the murder and Sharon's disturbing thoughts. The revelation of those diary entries had a profound impact on the courtroom. As one observer noted, quote, "There was a visible inhaling of breath at the shocking nature of those diaries." During the trial, the court heard testimony regarding Sharon's mental state. She was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, a condition that combines symptoms of schizophrenia and mood disorders. However, the psychiatric evaluations did not absolve Sharon of responsibility for her actions. The prosecution argued that despite her mental health issues, Sharon was aware of the nature and consequences of her actions when she killed Katie. After a 4-week trial, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. 7 men and 5 women found Sharon Carr guilty of murder, rejecting the lesser charge of manslaughter. The verdict brought a sense of relief to Katie's parents, Helen and Joe, who had waited years for justice. In March of 1997, Sharon was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 14 years. The judge recommended that she be detained indefinitely due to the extreme danger she posed to the public. He described Sharon as a very dangerous young woman and stated, quote, "It is clear that killing, in your words, turns you on." After her conviction, Sharon's violent tendencies persisted, making her a challenging inmate to manage within the prison system. She continued to attack other prisoners and staff members, leading to multiple transfers between facilities in an attempt to control her behavior. Her actions were not just limited to physical assaults. Sharon also expressed a desire to kill fellow inmates, with one particularly chilling incident involving her admission of wanting to slit another prisoner's throat. Sharon's violent outbursts were so severe that she was eventually moved to an all-boys unit at Aycliffe Secure Center as she posed too great a risk to other female inmates. That unusual step highlighted the extreme nature of her behavior and the difficulties faced by prison authorities in managing her. Given the severity and persistence of Sharon's violent behavior, coupled with concerns about her mental state, a decision was made to transfer her to a psychiatric facility. On June 16, 1998, Sharon was sectioned under the Mental Health Act of 1983 and moved to Broadmoor Hospital. That transfer came after multiple assessments and attempts to manage her within the prison system. At Broadmoor, Sharon's diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder was upheld. That diagnosis helped explain some of her erratic behavior, including her experiences with delusions, paranoia, and hallucinations. In one particularly disturbing incident, Sharon believed she was a lizard and attempted to cut herself to determine if she was still human. Despite the specialized care provided at Broadmoor, Sharon's violent tendencies persisted. She continued to assault staff and other residents, demonstrating that her dangerous behavior was deeply ingrained. The hospital staff faced ongoing challenges in managing her condition and ensuring the safety of those around her. Sharon's time at Broadmoor was not without controversy. Reports emerged of her forming relationships with other patients, including a planned wedding ceremony with another inmate. Those incidents raised questions about the appropriateness of such relationships within a high-security psychiatric facility. As Sharon entered her 40s, she remained in custody, with parole boards consistently deeming her too dangerous for release. Experts have argued that she falls into the category of really dangerous psychopathic murderer, where public safety cannot be guaranteed regardless of her age upon release. While recent reports suggest that Sharon has shown some signs of improvement, engaging well in psychotherapy and maturing to some degree, concerns remain about her long-term prognosis. The possibility of her eventual release hinges on her ability to manage her condition outside of a controlled environment, a prospect that many experts view with skepticism. Sharon's ongoing incarceration and treatment continue to raise questions about the rehabilitation of young offenders with severe mental health issues. Her case serves as a reminder of the potential for extreme violence in unexpected places and the challenges faced by the criminal justice and mental health systems to address such complex cases. As society grapples with these issues, we must find a way to handle young offenders while also keeping the community safe from monsters, no matter their age. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave us a comment. You can check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.